I've never told anyone this story before, not even my parents. This happened about 4 years ago when I was 18. I used to live in a small town in Oregon, the kind of place where nothing ever happens and everyone knows each other. One Friday night, I was driving back from my girlfriend's house around 2 a.m. To get to my neighborhood, I had to take an old back road that cuts through a dense forest. It was raining heavily, and the fog was so thick I could barely see 5 feet in front of my car. As I was driving slowly, I noticed something in the middle of the road. I slammed on my brakes, skidding slightly. Standing right there, under the dim glow of my headlights, was a man. He was incredibly tall, wearing a yellow raincoat that looked brand new, which was odd because it was covered in mud at the bottom. He was just standing there, facing away from me. I honked my horn, thinking he was just a drunk hiker. He didn't move. I honked again, longer this time. Slowly, he began to turn around. But he didn't turn like a normal person. He tilted his head back first, staring at the sky, and then his body followed. When he finally faced me, I felt a knot in my stomach. He didn't have any features under the hood, just a dark shadow where he was running. He wasn't running like a human. He was lurching forward on all fours, keeping pace with my car. I floored the gas, my heart feeling like it was going to explode. I didn't stop until I reached a well-lit gas station 5 miles away. When I got out to catch my breath, I noticed something that still haunts me. On my back window, there was a single, muddy handprint. It was huge, nearly twice the size of a normal human hand. I moved away from that town a month later, and I never drive through forests at night anymore. My college roommate and I found a great deal on a basement apartment in an old Victorian house. Rent was suspiciously cheap. Being broke students, we didn't ask questions. The landlord was an elderly man named Mr. Henderson who lived on the top floor and rarely came down. The basement was large and dark. It had a strange, heavy metal door at the end of the hallway that was always locked. Mr. Henderson told us it was just old storage and to leave it alone. For the first few months, everything was fine. Then, scratching started. At first, we thought it was rats behind the walls. It was too rhythmic. Every night at 3:15 a.m., we would hear scratch, scratch, scratch coming from behind that metal door. One night, my roommate, who had a bit too much to drink, decided he had enough. He grabbed a crowbar and forced the lock open. The room behind the door was tiny, nearly the size of a closet. There was no furniture, just a single, dirty mattress on the floor and hundreds of scratches on the walls. The weirdest part was a small hole in the ceiling that led directly into the floor of the room above us. We realized Mr. Henderson wasn't just living upstairs. He was watching us through that hole. We were terrified and decided to pack our things and leave the next morning. That night, as I was lying in bed, I heard a floorboard creak inside our apartment. I looked toward the hallway and saw the metal door slowly opening. A thin, pale hand reached out from the darkness of that small room. I didn't say a word. I grabbed my roommate. We ran out of the back door in our pajamas, leaving everything behind. We called the police from a payphone, and they searched the house. They found Mr. Henderson was gone. They found something else. Under the mattress in that tiny room, there were dozens of photos of us sleeping, taken from that hole in the ceiling. He had been living in that closet for weeks, right next to us, watching us every single night. This happened about 3 years ago when my cousin and I decided to go on a spontaneous camping trip. We wanted to avoid the crowded tourist spots, so we hiked deep into a national forest in Washington state. We found a beautiful, secluded clearing near a small creek and set up our camp there. By the time the sun went down, we were the only ones for miles. So we thought. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to a strange sound. It wasn't an animal. It sounded like someone was whispering just outside our tent. I nudged my cousin. We both sat there in total silence, listening. The whispering stopped. Then we heard the distinct sound of footsteps crunching on dry leaves, circling our tent slowly. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent flap just a few inches. I scanned the trees, but I didn't see anyone. However, about 50 yards away, through the thick brush, I saw something that wasn't there when we arrived. A bright red tent. It was sitting all alone in the middle of a dark patch of trees. There were no lights, no campfire, no signs of movement. It felt incredibly out of place. My cousin whispered that maybe another hiker had arrived late. Something felt wrong. Why would they set up so close to us without saying a word? We couldn't get back to sleep. For the next hour, we just watched that red tent. Suddenly, the zipper on the red tent started to go up. A man stepped out. Even from that distance, I could tell he was staring directly at us. He wasn't carrying a flashlight. He was walking in total darkness, navigating the rocks and branches like he could see in the dark. As he got closer, I turned my flashlight on him. He was wearing a formal suit, black blazer and dress pants, which was the last thing you'd expect to see in the middle of a forest. He stopped about 10 feet from our tent. His face was pale, and he had a wide, frozen grin that looked painful. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, tilting his head from side to side. I reached for my bear spray and yelled, "Stay back. We have a gun." I was lying. I was terrified. The man's grin widened even more. He didn't run away. He simply turned around and walked back to his red tent. The second he went inside, he didn't wait. We threw our essentials into our backpacks, abandoned our tent, and hiked back to the car in record time using our GPS. When we reached the trailhead, we saw a forest ranger and told him what happened. He looked confused and told us that the area we were camping in had been closed off for 2 weeks due to a missing person report. A few days later, the ranger called me. They went to the clearing to check it out. They found our tent. The red tent was gone. However, they found a small pile of Polaroid photos left on the stump where we had been sitting. Photos were of us, sleeping, inside our tent. Someone had unzipped our tent while we were asleep, taken pictures of us from inches away, and then zipped it back up before we woke up. I haven't gone camping since that night.